yeah, there's a claim against Joe Biden. And as I've told you before, I'm not going into it because I never talk about those things. I don't know who to believe. I believe in due process. I'm just not talking about it. I don't do gossip, personal little stories like that. It's just not who I am. But it is a gigantic story that somebody has to ask Joe about, right? We can't deny this. I brought this up a few days ago on the show. Whether you believe it or not, someone has to ask Joe Biden about this. I believe it was Free Beacon, great website, had an article out saying that Joe Biden has been asked since this Tara Reade person came out and made her accusation, whether it's true or not. Joe Biden's been asked 142 questions. I believe they said he'd been through 4 or 5 hours of TV interviews. Not one person has asked him about it. Not only are they not asking the candidate himself about it, they're not covering it separate from him. Okay, let's say you make that decision. I don't want to make things awkward for Tapioca Pudding Joe. I get that. We don't want to make it awkward. Maybe we're buddies. I get that. But maybe when he's off camera, we can bring it up. Almost nobody's bringing it up. And even if they do, they're like, all right, that's it for coronavirus deaths today. By the way, something up with Joe Biden. We'll see you tomorrow. That's essentially what you're getting here. I have this note from my producer. I didn't come up with this information. I don't think for myself per se. Media Research Center reported in just over a month, the grand total of ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, CNN, and MSNBC's Reade coverage amounted to 27 minutes and 31 seconds as of April 27th. 14 minutes and 54 seconds of that came from CNN on April 25th. People, it's one thing not to talk about the elephant in the room. It's quite another to look around and just decide this isn't a story at all. Just because I don't cover it, if you covered Donald Trump's scandals, if you covered for Barack Obama for 8 years, people, Joe Biden's about to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States of America. He has someone accusing him of something awful with witnesses. You have to bring that up. WAPO's finally decided that, well, I guess someone's got to say something. Quote, Biden himself should address the Tara Reade allegations and release relevant records. The records they're talking about, as a quick side note, it's personnel records. Again, I'm not going to get into all of it, but okay, this woman says this happened on this day. Was she working for Joe Biden on that day? If she was, that's going to be a problem for Joe. And something else, wouldn't Joe Biden's campaign have already put it out if she wasn't working there on that day? If somebody accused me of murdering them and I have evidence saying that I was in another state that day, that'd be like the first thing I did, right? Who knows? That's just me. Honestly, in all likelihood, Joe Biden probably doesn't even remember. He doesn't remember anything else. New York Times statement from the VP of Communications on the fake news story leaked about their findings. BuzzFeed reported on the existence of talking points being circulated by the Biden campaign that inaccurately suggests the New York Times investigation found that Tara Reade's allegation did not happen. Our investigation made no such conclusion either way, as BuzzFeed correctly reported our story. As BuzzFeed correctly reported, our story found 3 former Senate aides whom Reade said she complained to contemporaneously, dang it, all of whom either did not remember the incident or said that it did not happen, end quote. Again, I'm not saying anything happened, nor would I say. I'm not saying it happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I don't really cover these for Democrats or Republicans. There's too much gray when it comes to these things. But doesn't someone have to ask the man being accused? He hasn't been asked one time? Nancy Pelosi, you remember she was very interested in hearing women when Brett Kavanaugh was being accused by that blatant liar, Christine Blasey Ford. I guess those days are gone.
Well, I have great sympathy for any women who bring forth an allegation. I'm a big, strong supporter of the Me Too movement. I think it's been made a great contribution to our country, and I do support Joe Biden. I'm satisfied with how he has responded. I know him. I was proud to endorse him on Monday. Very proud to endorse him. And so I'm satisfied with that.
I'm sorry? You're satisfied with that? What's that? I'm not making that up. There's been no response. No one's asked him. There's been no response. I'm satisfied with how he's responded. So you're satisfied with being ignored? If that's the case, you're the first woman in history who's satisfied being ignored. I have a hard time believing that. Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.